You know, sometimes there's something about being a cowboy that would be like this really cool idea. It's fascinated men for hundreds of years. You know, it used to be the Western motif. Just you, your horse, out on the open range. And imagine it, there you are, riding along on the open range. Just you in the sky, tending to your herd of cattle like some kind of shepherd. And all of a sudden you come across it. A scene that comes right out of some horror novel. It just makes your blood run cold. And the herd's afraid of it too. And there's a cow. It's dead. And it's been cut up in a way that doesn't even make any sense. Skin has been removed. Eyes been taken out. Its guts have been all cored out through its butt in a perfect way. So we give you a direct analysis of every single thing of its environment. The intestinal tract, the tongue, the eye, and the animal is completely drained of its blood. And it's left there in a pile. None of the cows go near it. Sometimes it'll be in a snowy field, and there's no tracks going up to it, and there's no tracks going away from it. It just sort of happened. And if you can believe it, this happens literally all the time. All the time. In fact, I'm sure that somebody who's watching this right now knows someone or is aware of a circumstance where this has happened themselves. I invite you to leave a comment, make a long story of it. Tell us what you saw happening or what's happened in your neighborhood. I want to know about this because it's actually very, very common. Moulton Howe made a documentary about this years ago called Strange Harvest. And it's a twisted thing that we don't understand. And the authorities come forward and they say, oh, it's a predator kill. Yeah, coyotes went and did that. But it doesn't make sense when you think of it out loud, you know? How is it possible that you could have like this multi-ton animal that is then cut up in a field, loses its eyes and tongues, and nobody knows anything about it? It doesn't even really make any sense. So you gotta wonder, what is doing that? What is responsible for these things? And more than that, why are people just denying the reality of the situation? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. But the one thing that is odd about it is you have a physical representation of it. You've actually got a body. You've got something you can study. And this is something that they don't want anything to do with. Why is that? So I'm certain that anyone who's been involved with cattle ranching for any length of time, they're aware of these scenarios occurring. They know that this is a real phenomenon that gets whispered about. And of course, you know, the stigma that gets attached with this sort of thing, it stretches on and on. It reaches out into our cattle ranching, reaches out across the prairies. But in Canada and the United States and in South America, it's an ongoing problem. An ongoing threat that we can't seem to get our heads around, even to admit that it's happening. But it is happening. And even in just a cursory amount of research shows that there is physical evidence of this phenomenon. And to say that this is some pack of coyotes or some animal that's fallen over and this sort of just happened, well, it's insulting. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So, does that mean it's aliens? Does that mean it's some outworld entity in a craft? Or as Stephen Greer says, does that mean it's CIA operatives framing aliens using Black Hawk helicopters? Well, I don't even know which of those ideas are crazier. I'd sooner believe it was some outworld entity maybe trying to gather data on our food source. Maybe they're looking to see what's going on in the environment. Because when you look at what they take, they seem to take all the things that would tell you the most about the environment that they're living in. The intestinal tract, the eye that has all the fluid in it, the tongue, and of course, and weirdly, all the blood. And then that makes you think about the whole chupacabra thing. What is that? Like, what is actually going on there? Because something's happening there, for sure. Yet all we have is more questions. But rather than cling to just more questions, well, we don't know what it is. It's true, we don't know what it is. But we do know is that it's taken cows, it's taken their blood, and it's cauterizing the wounds with what looks like a laser. So this isn't coyotes unless we got some pretty seriously Star Trek coyotes going on. We know that to be true. So there's definitely something that's synthetic that seems to be picking these cows up, doing what they need to do really rapidly, and then laying them back down in the field with zero struggle. If they could do that to cows, does that mean they could do that to us? Does that mean they could do that to people? And as you'll see with more of these reports, you'll see that in fact it's true, they are doing that to us. And they are doing that to people. So it's time to realize that we're being farmed, just like those cows. And we'll be harvested, just like those cows, unless we're willing to stand up and do something about it. Unless we're willing to at least stand up and admit that, hey, there's something wrong here. And this phenomena that's occurring is real. And anyone who's worked with cattle and worked in these wide open spaces, they'll tell you it is real. And it's not a comforting thought.